That's bullshit.
What?
That's bullshit.
Okay.
That's bullshit.
All right. That's bullshit. Well, everybody, I hope you read the warning out there. The views and comments expressed, blah, 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 blah. This dude's not going to fuck me up. It's going to be great. All right, everybody. It's good to see you here. There's 11 of you in the chat. We are now live. Jason Baylin is sitting in the green room on the side, waiting for me to do all my stuff. I'm going to do it in out of order, like I always. I never do it in the same order. You guys notice that I don't really have a workflow here because I don't have it posted on the wall yet. I have only this sign done, and it's still not hanging up. But look how good it came out. Like, do not interrupt, except for this paint right here, because my white paint was messed up. But just like one of those reminder signs from Hurricane Custom that just hangs on the wall. How nice that is, man. Bam. One of the many things that I'll be hanging up in the studio to guide me in my future of podcasting here. Let's see what we have here to talk about tonight. We're going to talk to Mr. Jason Baylin, who is kind of like in the background sidelines of a lot of reptile things. Like, he's been in the carpet python scene for quite a bit. And we're going to get down that road and talk about his life growing up in Maryland, his influences around him, and other things like that. We got into a pretty good bit of it in the pre-show chat. And, you know, who shall not be named came up in it. So if anybody wants to hear a little bit more about that, you just jump on to the Bullshit audio in the future as soon as I get off my lazy ass and upload more episodes. All right, let's see what we got. Man, look at this Martin Morphs. Wow. Who is this? Is that Cord? That's not Cord Martin. Christopher J. Martin. Whoo! Bro, you're barking up Ralph Davis territory with that logo, son. Whoo! Goddamn. That's a little scary. I get it. Everybody's going to like hurry up and go look at this dude's logo. So anyway, I'll go ahead and how do I share this screen here? Add this screen to the screen. This screen to the screen, MorphMarket.com. The fancy new StreamYard window sharing function allows me to do this. MorphMarket, where you need to go to list your stuff. And please go check out so many of the wonderful stores. Check out the seller directory. Check out the categories, 41 categories. How can we get this up to like 200 and something categories? That there's got to be more stuff that we can add to MorphMarket, right? I know the feeder guys are waiting and the cage guys are waiting and all that kind of stuff. We don't have a supply market on here yet, do we, guys? Am I out of my mind? But anyway, go to morphmarket.com, fill out a application, get yourself on there if you're not already listed with the rest of us. And, you know, feel the benefit of having such a great company and a great product that we can use, because we never had that shit back in the day. C-SERPENTS, another top-notch company that I love to support here on the Bullshit Podcast because he loves to support me. But check out Chris. If you saw him this weekend in Arlington, I'm sure you emptied his trailer and were able to line his pockets with cash so that he could go home and line the floors of his facility with more waste from this PVC. Trust me, I get covered in it when I'm building my products. All right. 4-week turnaround time, and he definitely means it. This is no bullshit. This is not 4 months. This is 4 weeks. By the time you hollow out that spot in your collection and you convince your wife that it was a good idea, and or you at least convince her to forgive you for buying it, you can have one of these amazing racks land on your porch, on your doorstep, at your doorstep, to fill up your reptile room with one of the nicest, quickest, well put together PVC rack companies that I can say I've ever dealt with. Bought a lot of stuff from them, so you should too. C-SERPENTS.com. Check him out. Exotics by Nature. I will say this. If you message me, because you listen to this podcast, and you spend $400, let's say $399 as our cutoff, right? $399. You spend over $399, you get free shipping. Okay. So mention this as long as I want to run it. It'll be like this deal at Bed Bath and Beyond's closing near me, and they have like these sales that last as long as they last. That'll be how this deal is. It'll last as long as it lasts for you guys to go and check out. Look, I even forget to share this tab instead. Yeah, that sale will run for as long as I make it run, you know? So check it out. We actually just listed this boa, this IMG double head sharp boa that we have gotten, but decided maybe we might not want to work with anymore. But anyway, not anywhere because of the originating strain. It has nothing to do with that. It just has to do with the fact that I'm not sure I want to run down the boa lane. So yeah, check us out. We got 180 listings. Some went up, some went down. We do have some new stuff up. So check out Exotics by Nature on MorphMarket.com. Any sales totaling over $399, mention this podcast, and I will give you free shipping. USARC.org, not a sponsor of this podcast, but something I want to support with every part of my blood and bones that I do. So check them out, USARC.org, strength in numbers. Always look at this main page for all of your alerts and try to throw in a helping hand, even if you don't live there. All right, guys. Eclectic Tattoo Collective, the newest collective to join on. You know what? I was talking to my friend who has, is it Tree Frog Collective, about sponsoring this podcast. And I was going to say, dude, I don't know if I can accept you. That'd be the third collective. That means like everybody's got to start changing their name to collective. So apparently that's the trendy, cool new thing, to innovate your company and call it something like that. Eclectic Tattoo Collective, the newest sponsor of the Ballsh podcast, is look at this koi seal, this seal mermaid, whatever it is. That thing is insanely odd and very interesting, you know. So Ricky Savage, check him out. Kelsey, had to spell her name special. Jess and Rick at the Eclectic Tattoo Collective, the newest sponsor of the Ballsh podcast. Bravo Zulu ball pythons, that she's a sponsor of this podcast and the whole back rack. I thank you very much, Eileen, for all of your help and hard work getting this podcast name out there. Ectothermic Dungeon, Jim LaValle, looking at pictures and stuff. I agree with you. This snake is very cool looking, man. I mean, ball pythons still shock me and what they're capable of looking like as we go forth into this good night of reptile morphing. Infinite possible pythons. I'm ready to see some infinite possibilities out of you, bro. Like, so you got a bunch of breeding pictures. You got a bunch of show pictures. You definitely like the promo to shows you support. So thank you very much. You need to get on your Instagram more, though. This must mean business is good since Nathan hasn't been posting all that much. John Woodruff, always posting a lot. Today was the question of what the hell is a metal flake? What is a fucking metal flake? Does anybody have an idea what the metal flake is? And I just had to say this. That, I just said Michael is an importer, exporter. There's no telling, but it might be something to ask him about directly. I'll reach out to see if he wants to discuss this on Ballshit. Maybe it's just some pied, modifier gene, whatever it is. But yeah, I don't know who's got it doing a whole lot other than doing this. So John, you're good to ask questions like that, bro. Good man of you. Maybe we should put Michael Cole to the test and ask him what the fuck a metal flake is. Good question. Reptile Collective. Look at Steve Beamer with the Cayman. What the fuck are you doing, bro? Like, what are you doing? You getting into these things? You gonna turn into a little nerd over there with your little Cayman project? It's interesting. So you must have picked these up at a show just because you couldn't resist, because they do look like dinosaurs, and it's about as close as you can get. Reptile Collective. Check him out. The second collective, and he's got a bunch of shit, not just ball pythons, colubrids, all kind of stuff. Savages, the Savages. I love you guys. Dual sponsors of the Ballshit podcast. This would be Becca and Ricky Savage, the Eclectic Tattoo Collective folks, sharing some of their animals that they are working with. So go check out the Savages. And finally, Strange Creations, Joshua Strange. Still got the same one up. Stop looking and sounding like shit giveaway. It's all good. When did this wrap up? Is this wrapped up yet? Is this done yet? I can't wait to see who wins. I can't wait to see who's going to sound better with Chris Eaton's competition. You get a Brio, which is what I'm on right here. You get a great set of headphones and a blue microphone, USB mic. So definitely not bad for all of those folks out there that are struggling along with shitty sound and everything else. So, so I'm going to unshare this window. I'm going to bring on my guest tonight. Jason, how are you doing tonight, brother? You good?
Doing well, thank you.
Good. And we don't have too many people in the chat, so I'm going to do a quick announcement of folks that are here. C-SERPENTS Stan, good to see you. You had to be the first one here that I noticed. Will's Hella Heat, you were 30-minute counting. Small Town Exotics was trying to be first, but you were not last, and that's the name of the game. Bloods, good to see you, Jeremy and Jeannie, whichever one of you or both of you are sitting in front of that screen, if you are still. PCF Funny Royals up in Canada, right? You're in Canada, right? I try to keep you guys straight. Strange, good to see you. Sponsor in the house, Texas Kid, hitting it up every time. Good to see you from El Paso, Texas. Jason Earl's Exotics, River Rat, Low Life. I got some great names in here for sure with River Rat, Low Life, Ryan's Exotic Pets, Fries. They're down under from Australia. Quirky Snakes, good to see you too. Let's see. What else we got? That's about it, I think. Yeah. Let's see. There's a few more. Hey, Val, good to see you. Keep your nudity to a minimum. I'm glad you don't give this woman a friggin' video chat cam. This shit would be fucking sludged up in here, man. It'd be like a XXX show in here. Marshall, what's up, Marshall? Marshall was down in Texas this weekend, said it was a busy show. Said he still can't believe how crazy shows are and how much shit's popping off still after the pandemic and everything else. Jason, what's the last show you went to, bro?
Oh wow, probably Hamburg in PA.
Okay, so how long ago was that? Not long ago?
A month and a half ago.
Okay, how was that? How was the attendance and all that?
It's always good. She runs a really good show. It's the venue's a little interesting. The show's always pretty packed.
I've never been up there, but it's one of the oldest shows that are still in operation in the country, or at least locations that are still in operation in the country.
Yeah, it's been there, right? Yeah.
So, how old are you? In perspective. Let's put this down.
20 old.
You're 23. Okay, yeah. I feel that. I'm actually 21. I might be 20 and a half because I'm not really a drinker, so age didn't really matter all that much to me, right? I might be 20 and a half. I'm 43. And just in comparison, I mean, you're not that much older than me, right? But I mean, at the same time, you're 55. You look great for 55.
Thank you.
That's wonderful because it's a good frame of reference to, to what we talk about. Because you're kind of like in what I would consider the epicenter of ball pythons, in my opinion, between Pete Call and Ralph Davis being very close to you in proximity, in that you're not really on the ball python wave, And
I have a few, but I do not ride that wave.
Okay, yeah, you wouldn't call yourself that ball python surfer. I mean, there's plenty of guys that are out there hanging fucking 10 and 11 on that wave.
Oh yeah, and they're great. I mean, what they've done with ball pythons over the years is nothing short of amazing.
I truly agree. I mean, I truly agree. I to see it go so far out and to like it's got its own following, like The Walking Dead. You know what I mean? Like it's like a bunch of the same people running in the same direction. And one guy's like whisper to him, turn left. And they're like, turn left. And they just start turning left. Right. And all of a sudden they're going after Clown, and they're going after, well, they've been going after Clown for like a decade. Like eventually the Horde is going to switch directions. And when the Horde switches directions, you're going to be there with your clowns, and you're going to be like, but can you please take one? Right. And so like, I worry about things but the Horde is so interesting because the Horde is keeping itself together. And I think that's stunning. And I think it's nothing stunning, short of like, I think MorphMarket probably had a lot to do with it. Would you agree?
Absolutely agree.
Oh shit. That website saved everyone. It's like collectively saved everyone. If you didn't believe in God before, I still don't believe in him now. But like, I feel like MorphMarket was like, boop, like a light shone from the sky, and the aliens brung it to save the industry. Where did you go with your hobby? Tell me about this. Like you say you're 55 years old. Where did it start? Did it start as a kid, or did you get that greed bug like some of these folks did later on in life?
Oh, it definitely kid. I was, lived outside of Baltimore. Always bringing home the salamanders, anything we could find, the box turtles. My gracious enough to indulge it and let me do what I wanted to do. So it really did start when I was a kid. Yeah,
It's
the
interesting
money
to be
came
your age
later.
and have your parent encourage it. I just want to focus that for a second.
Oh, it's a must for kids today that are starting to get into this hobby. Yeah, I really do hope your parents embrace what you do, because
Yeah.
it is a lot of
If you're
fun.
watching this, you should be parentally like, be careful, because there's some shit on this podcast that you probably shouldn't hear. But at the same time, like, my daughter probably hears this and she's 10, so that's probably not that great either. But at the same time, dude, I think you're right. I had a retail store for a decade, Jason, so I was able to reach to those parents that I don't reach from just reptile shows, and be able to say, look, your what is it, that joke that your kid will never have money to buy drugs? Like, they'll never be like, oh, that next fix will cost me a ball python more for a carpet python. Like that, they'll be like, I want the next fix is something I have to feed and clean for 25 or 35 years.
Exactly.
And you feel that's a similar way, aside from a few of the party animal motherfucker type people we mentioned in pre-show. Most people that we meet in this industry are fairly grounded. I mean, pretty grounded.
I find that to be true. I mean, like you said, you got your rock stars, you got your crazies, and all of us can be that at one time or another. But most of us are pretty well grounded and know what we want, and know what we're shooting for. So we all have a plan of some sort.
Right. And I think that, you get everybody together in Tinley Park or Arlington or Pomona or Daytona or something, and people just get rowdy. And that's just the way it is. Like, some people carry on more than others. Some people get a little bit further along than others that they don't normally do. Some people treat it like Vegas, right? Some people treat it like it's like New Orleans being treated this week for Mardi Gras.
Absolutely. I think Tinley is a lot of people's Vegas.
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely a lot of people's Vegas, especially from what happens in Tinley stays in Tinley, right? Respect.
Absolutely.
River Rat, I'm with you, Jared. Teach your kids about reptiles and they'll never have money for drugs. That's what we tell our 4-H parents, yeah. Teach your kids about breeding bunny rabbits. They'll never have money for drugs, because they'll always be able to say that it's going to take 5 more bunny rabbits to buy that next key of cocaine. So Jared, thanks for being a wonderful sponsor by way of Patreon for the Bullshit podcast. I'm going to tick down your names down at the bottom, McRail and Conan's Moho and Jared at River Rat, all you guys on the bottom ticker. Thank you so much. The few of you that are there, the rest of you can go down to patreon.com/BALLSHT and really not get anything for your money other than sleep at night knowing you've been a part of this production and I've said your name and displayed it. I don't have many. I really don't, but it actually totals up to be almost as much as one of my big sponsors. So in my way of appreciating these folks, Jason, I don't paywall any material. So I'm on the fence, bro, after that snafu in January. I'm on the fence of whether or not I want to give all this away or not, or if I just want to sell it. I've been thinking about just making it all Patreon, where you have to literally buy it to hear it, period. Like, you can't hear any of it without buying it. And that way we can really make it last. But now I think it's better just to have it like this for now. So I do appreciate you coming on the show. And so salamanders and all that stuff, catching all that stuff as a kid, I definitely want to bring attention to that, because I truly think your area is unique in that you're far enough north that you have some reptiles outside, but that they're not the normal reptiles that I think kids go and hunt in America. You know what I mean? Like, I think you guys, you really do look more at your newts and salamanders and things. And like, I knowing hobbyists that collect, have you done much field herping at all in your life?
Oh, I've done a ton. It's for a while there, it was more fun than keeping this stuff, to be honest with you. We had a blast just traveling up and down the East Coast, finding anywhere we could find, everywhere. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and I got you a cup, River Rat. I got you on that. You're absolutely right. If you guys are in that slot, you either get t-shirts or cups. That's exactly right. Not this cup, though. This cup's seen some better days. Look at this motherfucker. This is my error cup. This is my test cup. And I got a crazy idea. One of my friends was like, it looks cool with the shit word wrote all over it. You ought to just burn one out with the shit word all over it. So I'm going to do that. That's my piece of crap, Jarrett. So if you want that one, I'll send you that one. I drank out of it. That's a special one. You think celebrity now? I share my DNA, my cooties with you. So, did you kept a lot of that stuff long term, Jason? Did you, or did you just catch
my
it
mom
like
was pretty good about it. She said, keep it for a while, study it, learn it, see what you can get from it, and then you're done with it, let it go. Where you found it. So
that's wonderful.
Without being a wildlife person, she had pretty decent insight into the way things should be.
Yeah,
it is.
Like, just gonna ask if she was like a fucking forestry agent or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, totally funny that you could be like you really don't. That's very refreshing, bro. Like, that's very refreshing.
It was cool.
Yeah. So, how much is your mom still alive and well?
She is. She's actually living down in Carolina, right next to the Okatee Hunt Club.
Oh shit! Really? No kidding. I mean,
literally
that's crazy.
10 minutes from the Okatee Hunt Club, and I'm trying to find a way to get on there.
Sick.
I want to go down there and herp it, but
yeah, for sure, absolutely. You definitely need to get down there. Like, the hunt club's kind of like off limits, but I'm sure the fence line has them there too, right? I mean, it's all Jasper County, isn't it?
It's all Jasper County, and
it's all Jasper County.
I did a kind of like preliminary scan of the area when I was down there last. I didn't really get to go out and do anything, but I found a bunch of spots that might yield some cool stuff. So we'll see.
Yeah, maybe you got to tell her, hey, Mom, if you got some extra plywood and you got some extra tin that you're not using, just go throw it over there in a corner and leave it by the fence over.
Yeah, your plant community would love it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it brings the wildlife, man. It brings the nature back in. It brings the nature back to life. So that's pretty cool. How old is she?
She's 80. So
okay, so she's 80. She's a little ahead of my mom too. Man, so okay. So like, for that to be like, you really got to see that, like, gosh, she was born in like 1941, 42, 43, and to have that presence of that's pretty interesting, man. That's an inspiring.
She didn't grow up with it either. So I mean, it was just her knowing what to do and what not to do, and protecting what was around us, I guess, at the time.
Yeah, absolutely. That's incredibly good, man. I mean, for that age, just unheard of, really, for that awareness, really that level of awareness. So I guess that, we can blame her for most of your issues now. Okay. So you didn't
up and down the board on all levels.
You didn't do this as a career, though, no?
No, I did not.
Okay. And what did you do as a career? Did you settle on one thing, or?
Yeah, I work for a company that owns nursing homes all over the country. So we own them. We rent them out to the people who run them, and I over a portion of that,
all right,
portfolio.
So a decent career with a good retirement, then, so that you can live your twilight in luxury. And
I cannot complain. And I never wanted to do it as a living because I didn't want to be dependent upon it, where I would make decisions based on where the money would be coming from. I always want to do it, to what I enjoyed doing, what I enjoyed having and keeping and learning from.
All my best ball pythons went down the river, bro. They all sold down the fucking river, man. It's sad. Like, if you could keep all your best shit, you wouldn't have a guy like Justin Kabilka. Wouldn't even have a chance.
Yeah.
Would have never had a chance if we could have just really kept all our shit, or if we really would have saw it going this far, right? Like, if we just saw it going this far. Who knew that you could breed three $50 ball pythons together somehow and get a fucking $10,000 one? I mean, who knew that the odds game would come out to? You know how long it took me to hatch this, bro? You got to give me ducks for this. You got to give me zeros. You got to give me 4 zeros for this. Got to be at least 4 zeros in there for this. And you're like, what the fuck? Are you kidding me? I could go buy the ingredients for 2 zeros. Like, really? You 4 zeros? What the fuck? You've been in a market? Been on a stock market? Zeros mean a lot. Zeros mean a lot. That's a 10x, son. You serious right now? And it's a little wild, but we never saw it doing that. We never saw it doing that. So where did you find your focus in on stuff? Did you catch a bug in on one particular thing?
I got a pair of coastal carpets on a trade for something that I don't even remember what I was trading for. And I just kind of fell in love with them. And then a couple years later, I was reading Reptiles magazine, and the tiger carpets appeared out of the magazine, and I just had to have those.
Yeah.
And I was able to get in touch with the guy, and I got his last 2 that he ever produced. They're on in, and I was able to reproduce them and establish them in the carpet community, and still working with them to this day. And I think that's what really got me. And back in the day when before Facebook, and we just had like the forums.
Yeah.
And I kind of got my start with like getting my stuff out there and showing people what I had.
What was your main forum of choice back in the day? Did you have a
MoreliaPythons.com?
MoreliaPythons.com. Yeah, you guys were all. You guys have had your own little group, your own little sect for quite a while. Yeah, definitely.
We're an acquired taste.
I mean, yeah, I think it's acquired. I don't know. I mean, I think it's just an interesting group of people. I mean, you could be snobby at some point, but I mean, at the same time, I think a lot of it is there's a lot more science and academia in that species than there is most other species too.
For some reason, it is that way. There's been a lot of studies with the carpet and distinguishing one from the other and trying to figure out what comes from what and where, and and then trying to put it all back together to find out that a carpet python's a carpet python.
Right, and a green tree python's a carpet python.
Yeah,
and saw scale python's a carpet python, and and so like at that point, it's like the more things change, the more they stay the same. It almost seems like a 30-year waste of time to me. But like, I mean,
you got to do
not
it.
not in your spot, but in the taxonomist's spot.
Yeah,
I'm not that nerdy about it. We talked about this.
Nor am I, but it's nice to know it's out there if you ever want to go look it up, I guess.
Right. And like we talked about this on the Holdback Rack podcast on Friday, mostly about corn snakes and everything, but just in the way of the localities and the taxonomy and how much it's changed, and like they put this with that and it doesn't make a lot of sense. Like, you know what I mean? Like she told me they put Baird's rat snakes in Spilotes.
Yeah.
And you're like, what the fuck? Like,
yeah, I'm not going down that rabbit hole.
That's what I'm saying. Like, if you've worked with a Baird's rat snake and you've worked with a Spilotes, you're like,
it's completely different.
What? Wait, what? Did you get a PhD for this? Did you get anything for this? Did you get a Twinkie for this? Because if you got a fucking Twinkie for this, then I feel bad for whoever gave you the Twinkie. They got robbed. It's just sad. Like, it's really sad. So very confusing. And honestly, with Morelia, it's been that way too, right? Like it
has been.
Right. And that was go ahead. That was her argument, was that science is trying to reduce the number of trinomials. So like subspecies, right? Like they're trying to get away from having subspecies, when I think subspecies should be specified again. We should have subspecies,
I really think so. I think the subspecies are important. When you look at, especially like, just for an example, milk snakes. So in Maryland, we've got the Eastern milk. We've got what has always been known as a subspecies.
Is that Cispillus? Yeah. Cispillus. Triangulum Cispillus. Yeah. Okay.
So, but you've got a subspecies or a population that's different on the coastal plains on the East Coast. So you have coastal plains milk snakes. I like knowing that in my mind, I consider that a subspecies of the Eastern milk snake.
Sure.
So I like the subspecies. I like having being distinguished that way, because it creates more focus on certain things, and it also allows you to see that locality and geography and environment make.
Right. So corn snakes and Emery's rat snakes were separated, and like you got Pantherophysis corn snakes and Emery's rat snakes are, I believe, Emeryi. Are they Pantherophis Emeryi now? But like it's really confusing, bro. Like it's really, really confusing. So let me address this real quick. Conan's Moho, you asked about the US ARC signs. I'm gonna have a buy it now link up on the website here shortly. I'm just trying still to figure out the shipping and stuff. So like I'm trying to get the best deals. I sent off a few and to test out the idea, but here's the oak sign. So I'll show this off right now because you guys are asking about it. These are the proud supporter signs. The finished signs are probably, the price has changed so many times, guys, because of the whole shipping thing. But again, if you want an unfinished MDF sign, which you can paint out to look like these, to look like my do not interrupt sign and stuff, you want a finished out and an unpainted MDF sign you assemble yourself. They're $80 shipped, and you can just DM me and we can get that out to you soon. We can get that out to you this week. The rest of it though is all under development. I'm actually building my incubator. I shut down my ball python collection, Jason, in 2019, mostly. And so I have this incubation room. And so I'm turning it into a paint booth to paint all these signs because I have this room and it's so permanent, right? Like it's so permanent. And I can't figure out what to do with it because it's got no ducting, no ventilation, like air conditioning, you know? And so I'm like, if I'm going to put a duct in here, I might as well put it to outside and have it like that. So, Timothy, we're going to definitely go over this. How do we get in touch with Jason for available snakes? You do have a MorphMarket account. Yes.
MorphMarket account. I also have, I'm East Coast Serpents on Facebook.
So, yeah. So I will pull up the MorphMarket page here for you guys to check out. And at this point, you don't have any listings, but they definitely have a way to get in touch with you and some things that, you know, we can discuss. So, and I'm going to go over to Facebook and we can look through some things if you have any photos posted of anything you're working with. And that's what we can do. So yeah, I mean, I bought the Tiger. I bought your co-op project between you and Will Leary when you bred the Tiger Jag together.
Okay, he would never tell me who bought it.
I bought one of those males from that when they were like $7,000 or whatever you guys got for the very first ones in the very first clutch, I believe. Yeah, so that would have been me. I would have lined part of your pockets with that, and to which it was actually a very good project. I never made my money back off of it, but I never pushed it hard enough to really make my money back off of it. You know, that
was back in the day. You know,
okay, 2006.
We didn't know what this stuff was going to do, and it was completely different from anything else that was out there at that time. You know, as far as the Jag stuff hadn't done yet. So it really was, you know, pretty exciting to see something like that pop out of something, you know, that you had your hand in. So
yeah, it was an incredible clutch. It was an incredible pairing, and I believe I got like one of the first picks aside from you and Will directly on your holdbacks. I think I got a really early selection, and it was a stunning animal. I mean, and it never had a problem with it. I mean, aside from the rest for the, you know, beside the normal Jaguar issues that you'd have with Jags, you know, but nothing outside the realm of normalcy, and a really solid snake that bred for many years. And
it's awesome.
Yeah, it was good. That was good. It was, like I said, I probably never made my money back, but I probably got pretty close, and it was productive anyway. So the Tiger project, what year man, you must have picked that up in what was that, like the 90s?
It was the late 90s, early 2000s. I'd have to go back and look, to be honest with you. But
and where did they originate from, the Tigers?
Okay, so they came from California, from a guy named Neville James. Okay. He got them from a guy, crazy enough, in Alaska. And honestly, I can't remember that person's name, but he was the one who was able to reproduce them, you know, with some regularity.
Were you ever able to track back where they came in originally?
We tried and we couldn't.
No.
But the guy in Alaska, Richard Quick was his name.
Okay.
In Alaska. That's as far back as we could find where they came from. So,
because Alaska is a funny spot. I mean, I imagine you could smuggle a lot of shit into Alaska. A lot of Australian shit you get smuggled into Alaska pretty easily, I would think, by way of Canada. And you know, I mean, like, you got to wonder at some point, Like now, if it shows up, we pretty much know, right? Like, oh,
Oh,
I didn't see that blue tongue skink and Ty Parks collection 3 months ago, bro. Like,
Yep,
what the fuck?
exactly.
Right? Ha ha. I
The
see
world's a
another
lot
Western
smaller
one.
than it used to be.
Right. Or like a bearded dragon, right? Like in like a weird bearded dragon morph that all of a
Exactly.
sudden surfaced from a country like Taiwan. Well, you know, I mean,
Exactly.
like Alaska to me seems like it seems like it'd be a fine spot to
Yeah,
have for Australian smugglables. You know,
I think it would work.
yeah. Well, I mean, I always thought it was ironic that Casey was in Washington State with all that weird shit too. You know, but I don't say that because I know about Casey. I say that because I had a dart frog contact back in the day that was up there in Washington State, not far from Casey. And that's what he would do. He would smuggle shit like crazy through Canada. He would just just drive across the border, go fly out of an airport, fly over, bring it back, drive right across. You know, it was super easy for them. So,
yeah, it was
you know,
back in the day. It was way easier, and like I said, the world's gotten a lot smaller, and it just doesn't work as well.
Still plenty of smuggled shit coming from Oz, though, you know, because it's still
100%.
legal to have that shit. It's not illegal once it gets out. Like once it gets past the border, it's not endangered, so it has no protection.
Right.
It can't get any sort of hold unless they catch it in transit. It's the only way
It
they
has
get
to
it
be
back.
in transit, yeah.
It has to be in transit. And the only guy I ever knew really that got caught, aside from smuggling it in his own pockets or on his own body, was probably Frank Reedus, you know, a couple times, having monitors shipped to him. And he said he always got off with the same explanation, that I just tell them that I'm known all over the world for monitor lizards. So people ship me shit all the time, bro. Like it's not my responsibility. My address is on the internet. I can't control what people ship here, you know? And speaking of that, let's talk about his competition for just a quick second, because I sponsored my t-shirt just today. Mike's Monitors, wearing that shirt there, Mike, with the front pocket. One of the best reptile guys in the business. You can tell he's a hardworking motherfucker. He put a front pocket on his shirt. You know, what's up, Lou Balls? Good to see you, man. Good to come in. Good to have you here. And we're local pickup on the sign. That's no problem, Conan. I'm gonna be look. If you wait till the next Reptile Expo, what's the next one? We got a herp show coming up in Baton Rouge in a couple weeks in March. Go to herpshow.net and look up those days, and I will bring US ARC sign kits to the show. If my paint booth is done by then, which I hope it will be, then I'll bring painted signs to the show, and you guys can buy those. And all those signs, I'm donating for each one of them $40 to US ARC. I have a giant bundle to ship off to one guy, too. So I think 4 signs is my limit to ship, and it's heavy because that's basically like literally half a sheet of wood, like half a 4x8 sheet of wood is in 4 signs. So it's not light. So please, you know, refrain from ordering more than 4 at a time without warning me first or meeting me at a show to get them cheaper. But yeah, so all good. So the tiger carpet python is where I know your name, bro. What else do you mess with that you have so much fun with? Like, was there other Morelia aside from the coastals that you went down the road of? Tell me about that.
There's been a slew.
Okay.
Some people might know me from back in the day. I did Arizona Mountain Kings. I established the Hypo Arizona Mountain King years and years and years.
Many years ago then. So
yeah, many years ago.
Yeah.
And that was one we could trace back. We actually
Uh-huh.
traced the founding animal to a that was taken over the border from Mexico into the States, and had been breeding for years. Somebody bred back an offspring. Something interesting popped out. I got a hold of some offspring from someone else and was able to breed it back to the original male, and we established he was the carrier for that gene.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's pretty incredible.
That's pretty cool.
Always nice to
It's pretty
find
cool
that.
to do some shit like that. That's fun to figure all that shit out.
Yeah, I agree with you 100% that that's definitely the way to go. It wasn't a Komodo dragon. It was actually a Spencer eye that he got caught with, I believe. It was a gravid, but it was a gravid female Spencer eye. It was a gravid female Spencer eye. Yeah, Steve Dawson. Yeah, I mean, you know the old guys, right? I mean, you got to know the old guys. Steve Dawson is definitely an old guy, old name, old guy, been around for a minute.
Yeah, I'm not gonna talk about him though.
Yeah, we won't talk bad about him. We'll just let him. We'll come. Steve will come on the show. I'm sure. You know, we'll get him on the show and talk about some old stuff and all that. But yeah, Komodo for sure. I mean, well, you know, we had Bo Lewis on the chat with Voldemort a few weeks ago. You know, so you know, it was interesting to see what people come out of the woodwork for what guests. So it's funny, man. So it's like some of the guests, like you guys, you older guys, man, we bring out some interesting folks, right? Like the people that pop out are like, hey, what's going on, man? I saw your name on the thing, so I clicked on it this time. And you're like, whoa, you're actually watching this? Oh shit. You know, some of the stuff's a little scary. We can get into some serious conversations.
Absolutely.
But so Arizona, so hypo pyro,
Correct.
right? So lovely, very lovely.
Bred the Bolin's pythons back in the day as well.
Bolin I mean,
was one and done with those.
One and done with those. Like he figured it out, but he didn't figure it out. He did it once, and that was it. Talk to me about that.
Well, it was an interesting. We brought in a pair. A friend of mine and I brought in from Indonesia. I don't know if you guys remember a guy by the name of Duncan McCrae, but he was an
I know Duncan real well. McCrae The name of the blue tree monitor, guys, Varanus McCrae is named after good old Duncan.
So we worked with him and got a pair in. Female
Whatever happened to him? Is he alive?
I don't even know. He's off the.
He got out of the industry.
Maybe I have no idea. But we got in a pair from him. The female died. We picked up a female from your friend from the other night, who he shall not be named. And he had her sitting on the floor in his office, you know, for however long. I grabbed that one from him, took her back to my house, started dropping temps, introduced them. They bred. They did everything like Morelia was supposed to do, and she did produce a clutch of eggs. So, you know, got a few of them to hatch, and she didn't make it shortly after that.
Yeah. How was the feeding on the young for birth for them? Were they a nightmare or what?
It really wasn't hard to get them going, to be honest with you.
They
did pretty well right out of the gate, just on regular pinkies. So feeding them was not a problem.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, they look like chow hounds, right? I mean, they look
They are, and their
they look like chow
metabolism is so fast. You have, you know, you would put a pinky in there, and the lump would be gone the next day. So they were, a little bit more attention as far as watching them, and you didn't want to overfeed them, but at the same time, they needed a little bit more to keep their metabolism going. So
it's a natural diet.
I think a lot of it, you know, I think they're pretty omnivorous. They eat a lot of birds. The rodents on the islands, but I think
they're spectacular species. I would think that would definitely be like a bucket list thing to have been a part of there.
It was amazing. It also hard. So, you know,
for a name and not a lot of people around the industry, man, you've had a very cool, fun, sidebarred career here in reptiles. Like
it's pretty eclectic.
It's been eclectic, but it's been expansive too. Like it's wide. It covers a lot of area. So bred Morelia Bolini, as we talk about Morelia and all the shit that goes in that Morelia group. Bred Morelia Bolini. Arizona hypo pyro. Did you do any collection in West Texas? Did you ever go hunt Terlingua or anything?
I made it to Texas to go hunting. I've herped a little bit in Arizona, but never made it to Texas to do it.
Yeah, I would love to. Be an interesting area to go into.
It would be.
Yeah, and for that hypo pyro, I mean, you were able to trace it back, so you're pretty solid about it being pyro too. It's not a huachuca.
I know who collected
as we talk about other fucking subspecies.
Yeah, I know who collected it. He knows where he collected it. So
I got you. So you got it hands down. Pyro. Sweet. Sweet. Well, I never thought it was like knob or anything, you know, which I mean, and that I think is that's a decent case of potentially not having a subspecies, although they're incredibly so alike in how they act. Because I breed Knoblikai. I've bred Knoblikai for over 10 years. I won't
they're fantastic.
To me, that's the most amazing mountain king snake because they come out eating so well. knobs. They don't give you problems usually like pyros and wood knives do.
No, they do seem to be easier.
They are definitely easier. There's no doubt that they're an easier mountain king snake. So I always work on knobs because you really can't beat that color, that pattern, and how easy they are to get feeding and stuff. Now, you mentioned in the pre-show you work with black milk snakes as well. So gauge eye, you breeding, you raising? What are you doing?
In brumation as we speak.
Okay.
I bought a pair a couple years ago, and you know, I'd done carpets mainly for such a long time with not too many stuff on the periphery, so I started branching back out again.
Okay.
So, and colubrids was one of the areas I wanted to kind of start, you know, building that side of the collection back up. I always enjoyed them. The carpets just started taking up so much of my focus that I spent all my time with them. But yeah, you got the black milk snakes. I've read it, Mex Kings, just stuff that I like, stuff that caught my eye, and I say, I just want to try it and see how I do with them. So, and again, I've always done everything. So hopefully they produce this year. We'll see.
Oh yeah, and like down the line, you things like Mex, you don't see that much anymore, right? Like you don't see that much of a lot of stuff anymore, man. Like I do miss the days when you could go. You can probably still hit like a show like Daytona or a show like Tinley and find a lot of these if you're really, really looking hard.
Daytona was probably one of the most diverse shows I've been in a long time. They had a lot more diversity. I mean, there was a ton of ball pythons and all the normal stuff too, but a lot of things you don't normally at your local shows or even at some of the national shows. So it was a nice,
Yeah, the Florida guys, because there's still so many guys in Florida that just breed snakes because they breed snakes, and they're still old school, old fashioned type guys that just breed snakes to breed snakes, right? Like they don't breed snakes for money, they don't breed snakes for pussy, they don't breed snakes for any reason other than just to breed snakes, and because they've been fascinated with reptiles their whole life. Jason Earl says, I only have pyro. He got his from Gerald Merker. There's an old name that we talked about on that Whole Back Rack podcast. We did talk about that on her podcast, the Whole Back Rack, on Friday. Gerald and Cindy Merker, who were photographer for Reptiles Magazine, as well as a colubrid breeder for very many years. And Jason Earl, I want to tell you that Gerald Merker is ground zero for the Ultramel project. That's who the Ultramel corn snakes came from originally. That was ground zero for Ultramel. So that's what we were reviewing in Friday's podcast, was because Don Soderberg, right? I mean, most people have been around knowing old Don, but Don's got this she said she tried to find that issue of Reptiles Magazine and whiffed. I'll try to find it. I have about 7 feet of a shelf of Reptiles magazines jammed together as tight as you have to jam them to fit them in that 7 feet. So it'll probably take, I'll have to hire an employee just to find that article. But it was from, like I said, it was from before like 99, 2000, something in that range. And it was a corn snake article. And the original Ultra is actually pictured in the fold out of that article. Because Don is old, and Jason, I'm the one that showed Don his very first Ultramel corn snakes. And I showed them to him on a day that I also showed him some hybrid corn snakes that were unrelated that he bought, that I told him I thought were hybrids the whole time. And he's gotten all of that confused. And he's saying that Ultramels came from that. And Ultramels did not come from that. So our show on the Whole Back Rack podcast last Friday was to set the record straight. If you're listening to this and you care about corn snakes, you care about the nomenclature of morphs and how to define them over time, please go listen to that podcast, because it's all about corn snakes and scientific names and morph names and all the fucked up stuff that I knew about that I could straighten up, right? Because like I was here for a couple things. Like there was a corn snake morph I discovered in a garage in a guy's house locally, right? And just like you went and you backtracked that milk snake and you tried to backtrack that carpet python, right? Backtracking it all the way to the source cuts out all the stories and all the bullshit.
It does. It eliminates the stories, as much as you can by doing that. And you always do it, but you try.
Yeah, and look, I gotta tell you, some of the colubrid morphs have like absolutely insane logic behind them, bro. Like some of these people are like, yeah, we feel that it's like they're telling me that Tessera, the corn snake morph Tessera, that people are trying to say it's a California king snake gene that was bred into corn snakes. And that's why some tesseras bite the necks of the females when they breed them. And I'm like, wait a minute. If they're biting the necks of the females that breed them, they're not a corn snake. And I have tons of these dilutes and all these other morphs of corn snakes, and I have never seen one of my corn snakes bite another one on its neck. So I would say that those people just so happen to have Cow King hybrids, but that the morph tessera didn't come from the Cow King. Just the matter of fact that they bite onto the females while they're breeding came from the Cow King. It's bizarre to me, like, to hear that people are like, oh yeah, we don't think it's a real morph. We think so-and-so's up to hocus pocus nonsense, you know? Like, I don't know, like the guy that invented Viagra spam moved on to morphing reptiles. Like, I really don't get it. Like, I don't get where they come from with some of the shit that they come from, but it is what it is. So, how are you on hybrids? Where your stance on all that stuff, being the old school fella?
I don't work with them myself. I mean, I'm if anybody wants to do whatever they want to do with their snakes that they keep in a box, go for it. But it's just not an interest of mine. I've never really, wanted to do anything like that. So,
right.
But I mean, if people want to, that
never
be responsible about it. That's my only caveat, I guess.
I don't know if there's such thing as responsible about
They're
it.
not in this, not in this hobby.
Not in this hobby. You're right. Jonathan Sell says there's a picture of an Emery in Kathy Love's original book that looks tessera. Maybe it's an Emery hybrid. I'd believe that more than I'd believe that it's a fucking Cow King morph that's been put in the corn snakes that, whatever. So I thought that was a very interesting thing. Cuddle time. Good. Congratulations with your first clutch of 2023. By the way, you're way off schedule. Just wanted to tell you that, you fucking weird ball python breeder. You're cuddling with your snakes and keeping them too warm in the winter or something because you're off schedule. But I love it. It's a year-round breeding game now, Jason. So how many ball pythons do you have in this collection of
probably about 6 pairs.
How many?
6 pairs or so.
6 pairs or so. That's conservative.
Just to dink around with.
Yeah, it's a definite dinker project there.
Yeah.
I mean, unless they're all $30,000-$40,000 a pair, in which case,
unfortunately,
you're like,
they're not.
There are people worshiping you if there are. Like, you have a T-shirt, a sticker, a website, like you have all kind of shit, a YouTube channel, a podcast that hopefully doesn't sound like shit. No. Yeah, I mean, because there are so many podcasts now. At least mine doesn't sound totally like shit. But I guess that's going to be up to, hey, Will, we have this listener, Will, Will's hella heat, and Will just is the podcast whore, Jason. He listens to like every single podcast on the internet, and he just announced it because he listens to more podcasts than anyone that he's going to start rating the podcasts. Like, he's going to like give you his unvarnished critique of your show on his Instagram. It should be interesting. Awesome. Like, I'm interested to hear people like, look, your fundamentals are great, but your kid in the background sounds like an asshole. You need to just kick your kid out of the house. Only do a podcast when your kid's at school. It's interesting. So you've never been like tempted to fucking start a podcast, I'm sure.
I've been tempted to do a lot of things.
You just put on.
I was talking to somebody about it today.
Where are you?
I actually was, but
tell me more about that.
No, I haven't.
All right. Well, I mean, Morelia Python Radio, NPR's been around for a minute, and they've hammered a lot of subjects. I mean, you see,
they really have. I mean, and they do a great job informing everybody of what's going on. They've branched off. They cover a wide range of topics. So I can't say enough about those two.
Yeah.
I don't know if the podcast thing's in my future, but you never say never, I guess.
No, I think it's really easy for us to reach out now, though. I mean, like, this really is simple. I mean, we fought a sound issue that turned out to be my problem, and I'm just a shitty host. I didn't really think about that. I'm like, what the hell? Why is my mic not working?
I definitely thought it was me.
Why? I don't understand. And yeah, it was just a StreamYard configuration error. But yeah, but my webcam wasn't recording the sound for some reason. It should have been at least giving you something, but it wasn't. But yeah, so like, I think it's really simple though, bro. Like, it's really easy. This is pretty simple. Like, it doesn't get much easier than just literally hitting a record. Let's go live. Boop. you know, other than the fact that you can't say anything you want to say live.
Well, yeah, I think I know who my first guest would be. Maybe we'll just get him right back on there and see if he can redeem himself.
Oh yeah, really? I mean, that's interesting. I don't know about redeeming himself, but
I don't know.
I mean,
I don't
other
think
than the
they're
fact that
coming back.
I don't think redemption is necessarily in the cards there. But for someone who's grown up in the Maryland scene of reptiles for a long time, you've been around the man some, and you can honestly say you're probably not that surprised. But
No.
in you know, in
It's
the grand
unfortunate.
scheme,
It really is, because he's
it's
got a lot
highly
to offer,
unfortunate.
a lot of
Right.
information to give, a lot of history.
A lot of history. Well,
and
yeah,
it's
a lot.
just unfortunate.
Yeah, it's highly unfortunate, but at the same time, like, you were so willing that after we talked about it, after that situation, we talked about it, and you were like, "I'll do the show. I'm interested. That's cool." And I appreciate you coming on, you know. And look, I didn't mean to put I didn't mean to put baby in the corner. I'm sorry, I missed this comment. I didn't mean to put Brandon in the corner. You know, Morelia House says, Baylin, what's up, guys? So I hope my girls, hope my female diamond pythons are living it up down there in San Diego. I sent my 15, 18-year-old female diamond pythons down to Brandon to stick in his outdoor enclosure to see if he could maybe get them breeding again. At least get some babies and some stock off of them before they kick the bucket. I mean, they were really good stock from back in the day.
I'll be in San Diego in a couple weeks.
Yeah. My video feed's a little funky. I don't know what's up with that, dude. I mean, I think it's my Wi-Fi settings a little weird. I'm going to go ahead and let me just reduce that definition down. I'll bring step us down to 720 from 1080p and see if that helps a little bit. I need to run a wire over here from the router to maybe try to avoid some of this issue. But so far, everything with the podcast has been good. He said they're outside now. You got a heat light on them, bro? I know they're not supposed to be more. You know, they're outside now. I really, truly hope that this works out, bro. I hope that this is a cycle that they need. I mean, I know that their loins must be aching to produce after it's been so many years, Jason. I think, the last time I bred those was probably like 2011, 12, something like that. 13. It's been a while.
This year ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah,
awesome.
my buddy Eric Kohler and I have a pair. In fact,
okay.
Brandon got one from us when we bought a trio of them. So.
Oh, okay. Well, if he got a male from you, then that might be the male, and that might be.
I don't know which one he's using, but I know he got one from us, and so we're trying to get them to go this year too.
Yeah, Tim, I'm with you. There's a lot of awesome breeders in the Maryland, Virginia area. I mean, it's been an epicenter, but you got to realize you had the Maryland area reptile show, the Mars show, which used to be a fighting fucking bloodbath to try to get into that show. I mean, I sat on a wait list for 8 years and never got a table ever. Like, they stopped doing the show before I ever got a table. Like, they literally never, ever ran out of spot. And I'll be honest, they put another focus on the Mars show too. The promoters of the Mars show, whoever it was that organized that, you guys, I want you to know that they use the part of the proceeds from the show every year to buy rainforest in South America. And
Tim was the promoter.
Yeah, a pretty good bit of rainforest they ended up
bought a good chunk of it,
buying up over the years. And Doug Barr, who was the one, if you want to know who invented your 3-tier display at a reptile expo, that would be Doug Barr, Doug and Nikki Barr. And and Doug and Mickey are the ones that ran a store in a mall in Knoxville, Tennessee, who also donated to the Rainforest Fund with Mars, and they bought Rainforest together. Their Rainforest gift shop was actually called something like Rainforest Gifts or Rainforest something. It was called something Rainforest, and that's what they did. They had a sign on the window of the mall and the Knoxville, Tennessee mall that a certain proceeds of the store, like 20%, like a significant percentage of the proceeds of the store went to purchasing rainforest in South America. So Tim said, I'm originally from Baltimore. I wish I was back there for the snake scene. Well,
come on back.
Yeah. Come on back. Apparently there's openings there. So, I mean, you got Hamburg still. That's probably the oldest show. You got White Plains, New York, running.
I think that show's coming back this year. So
is it White Plains is coming back? Yeah. But it hadn't happened since pre-COVID.
I think they had to move the venue for whatever reason. COVID messed it up. Then they moved the venue, but I think they're bringing it back to that original spot.
Yeah, that's good to know. You know, I mean, and there was so much there. I mean, but you had Nerd in New Hampshire. I'm granted that's far away, At the same time, it's not generally that far away compared to when you think of how much of the country's reptile base was focused in that area. And you know what's crazy, dude, is if I watched my statistics, Jason, from Ballsh, from my audio versions of this show, from 2015 to 2018, you could actually see the spike in people in the Chicago area just because of the show blowing the fuck up. Like, really, like, almost like, man, I was at this breakfast place, and they had this show across the street, and I went, and then I sold my 401k and bought ball pythons. Right? It's like, that's the story. And it's crazy.
All these shows, all these original shows that were started, 10 years ago, really paved the way for a lot of people to get into the hobby. I mean, they were huge because they get to see everything at once. They got the on everything at one time in one place, and it drew a lot of people in.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. And I mean, let's see. What would have been your favorite, most memorable shows from back in the day? Like, what was your favorite spot? Was Daytona like your spot just because it was a decent place to just hang out?
The funny thing is, I never got to Daytona over the last 3 or 4 years. So,
okay. So you never got to see
it's one of my favorite spots now.
Oh, yeah, right.
The MORPH show was probably one of my favorite shows to do.
Oh, bro, you had all the superstars of reptiles that were there, though.
Everybody came to that show. It was amazing.
I mean, you had Barchak, Mark Bell, the Barkers, Nerd, Ralph Davis, Pete Call. Well, I mean, like, you had like literally who's who of reptiles. Like, I mean, I was spending hundreds of thousands of dollars with Ralph Davis, with Brian Barchak, and I'm like, can you please talk to them and get me on the list? Can you please? And they're like, fuck you, bro. You're not getting in this show. Like, you could sit on the wait list, but you're never going to get in this. I'm telling you right fucking now. Like, Ralph Davis is like, I'm telling you right now, bro, you're never getting in this show.
Yeah.
And I'm like, fucking really? Is it really that? And it was like a superstar level. Like, nowadays, people are like, yeah, but you can't get in Tinley. I can't get in any RBC. Yeah, you can. Put your fucking name on a list and wait it out and be diligent about it, and you'll make it. I'm talking about, you couldn't pay your way into this motherfucker. You couldn't you couldn't say, I'll match the acreage of rainforest if you give me a table, and they would have been like, fuck you. You know how many people would do that if we allowed it? And it'd be like, that's absolutely absurd. But I'm jealous of you. I never got to see that show.
It was a great show. I think it's honestly where I debuted the Tigers after I started producing. That's when I threw them out there on the table for the first time.
Wow. Okay. So you had a table, motherfucker.
I did have a table.
You dirty bitch. You had to be somebody, right? He bought his way in. He's just one of those ball python motherfuckers. Yeah. That was it. I bought my way. I didn't earn my way in I didn't have fundamentals of mutations in carpet pythons and in colubrids. I mean, I do kind of now a little, but a little kind of. But more than most. So I'm still very thankful about my career. Don't think of me as an egomaniac. Think of me as a very humble servant to the reptile community at this point, because I'm thankful.
I would think nothing else. Nothing else at all.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. So, like, I mean, you've had a name. Where would you go with your studies and your work if you could work with anything? Like, if you work with any reptile in general in the grand house scheme, including Steve Doss's wonderful Komodos he mentioned earlier. You tell me, like, what would it be? Like, you've bred and hatched Bolini. You've purified and clarified your own line of North American colubrid that is like sought after. Like, you didn't find a king snake morph. You found a mountain king snake morph. Yeah. Like, that's like, that's a needle in a haystack. That's to a mechanic, that's a red cut hair. That's rarer than any other cut hair in the industry. To a mechanic, that's a rare RCH, So what would be your thing?
Christ. I mean, if I had my brothers and I wasn't a big pussy, I would do some venomous stuff, to be honest with you.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. What venomous stuff? Let's focus on that a little bit. We're like,
I'm going to butcher the name, but the manganese viper.
Oh, yeah.
Crutchfield posts his all the time.
Of course. The fucking green one.
That would be the pinnacle. I that thing just,
the Mangshan, you mean? That's what
I
you're talking
don't-
about? The
yeah, like I
Mangshan
said, I
Viper?
butchered the name.
Mangshan. I think it's
That thing has
Mangshan.
always
Yeah,
drawn me
Mangshan
in.
Viper.
Yep.
I would say so. Yeah. Okay, that's bucket list worthy. You know,
Yeah,
I mean
that really does it for
that's
me,
bucket
so.
list worthy for sure. The Mangshan Pit
There it
Viper.
is.
Yeah. Right. You want to be like this guy though. You want to go collect it in a while and just have it just chilling on your shoulder. I mean,
Absolutely.
they are incredible though. Like yeah, absolutely would tell you that this is, you know, dream snakes. You know, not to pull up Tyler Nolan for all those people that fucking hate Tyler Nolan. They're like, get Tyler Nolan's face off the screen. Get Tyler Nolan. There you go.
That's the picture right there.
yeah.
That picture right there.
Which one?
The one up in the upper right-hand corner here.
This
the
one?
highlighted picture.
Oh, the one that I had up.
Changed it.
Changed it. This one? That
no,
one?
it's all fucked up now, but
yeah,
it's okay. You get the gist.
Not Tyler. I get the gist of it anyway. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, these things are absolutely incredible. So
really
that's what
are.
you would work. That you would work with the Mangshan Viper. That would be your.
If I could pick right now today,
if you could pick right now, that would be it.
Yeah, that's the picture right there.
How much does this thing cost?
I have no earthly clue.
Well, I mean, Tyler Nolan bought one, so you know, I mean, eventually they'll be for sale.
Yeah,
you know, I mean, it's fucking eventually they'll be for sale. So okay, so Mangshan Viper.
Yep.
What else? Let's talk about more bucket list stuff. Because I mean, you're a guy that's allowed to dream. If you're a ball python breeder and you've not worked anything else, you're not allowed to have this dream. I'm sorry. You're not. You're allowed to have the dream. You're not allowed to pack your bags and throw it over your shoulder and hitchhike your way to oblivion like this guy is. Like, you know, there's got to be others. Tell me more.
What else would I do? I mean, honestly, at some point, I would probably, I'm going to get back to the Bolins. I haven't, you know, it might be a little ways. I would like to do that again.
Everybody else is like, we would like you to do it again too, so you could just tell everybody else that you know how to do it. You know, it could be it could be an area of Nick Mutton's sour hood. Like he could get sourpussed over it, you know, because he likes to be a sourpuss over a lot of stuff. So I like giving Nick.
I'm not going to disagree with you.
Yeah, I like Nick's Nick likes to be sour over stuff, so I like to pour a little extra sour on his sugar. You know what I mean? That extra sour.
Feel free.
Yeah, absolutely. So I like challenging his opinion when he's not here to defend it, because he'll definitely talk about his own point of view like it's the only one that matters. Mangshan Viper wouldn't even come to mind. Or I'm gonna crack on my guess, right? Like I love the dude, but at the same time, like I love also fucking with him off camera, because he like the minute he boxed retics and ball python people together in the same fuck you category, I was like, wait a minute, that's completely different categories of fuck you people. I'm sorry. There's a complete that's like saying that's like, yeah, that's ridiculous. It's
one is not like the other.
It's the right, exactly. It's like pineapple on your pizza argument all over again. It's just fucking like there's some people out there that devoutly are against it, think it's absolutely fucking wrong, and there's some people that are like, oh yeah, I think that's cool. But we all universally agree that fucking that the complete Chondro's first episode was a bad book. Like we all agree that the complete Chondro was probably not the best advice we had read on chondro pythons. But you know, and I think that was more or less, if you've been in this hobby as long as we've been, perhaps you question the reality that some people say are fact, right?
You have to, though. You have to figure it out for yourself.
You do. I would
take people's opinions, take their suggestions, but literally sit down and use your own mind and try to figure out what's best for you, your animals, based on your observations. Like I said, get the advice, read up, but make your own decisions.
Yeah, for sure. And you have to scientifically observe what you work with, because, and again, back to that taxonomy argument about Baird's rat snakes, the guy who renamed them as Spilotes obviously never worked with them in captivity. Like it obviously never seen them in a tank and seen their activity. And maybe they're not your normal Elafe, but maybe they're not to that extreme, you know, or maybe that scientist sits here and tells me exactly why they are. We might have to find that guy. Hold back, Rack. We should do that. We should co-op a podcast where we target these guys that taxonomy, that change the taxonomy of things to things that they think are a better idea that we think are fucking stupid, and we should call them up and ask them about it and be like, what the hell were you thinking when you did this thing? You know,
well, it's interesting because these guys, they'll do that. They'll just change taxonomy. They'll say this is the way it should be, and it, not to say they're not scientifically, backed up by their facts and their research, but you're one guy working with one set of data or whatever, but
right,
we're a million people working with these things across the country and in different countries,
and from an observation,
we have a pretty good database of shit to make observation with, and so not always is it for me is it the correct thing to do,
right. Right. Yeah. To run down that road, because I mean, I'm sure, again, we go through these books. Like if the watchers of this podcast already know deeply the books that I'm going to bring up, but the books that are beneath this sign that I'm going to reach for, unfortunately, not the book that most of them want me to reach for, David Tracy Barker's Ball Python book. That's a wonderful book, but that's not the one I'm reaching for because that was out. That came out way too late. That came out a decade too late, that book on Ball Python. I'm talking about this book. Their first one, right? I'm talking about this book here.
Yep, a must-have for everybody.
And this book here, like this book here, Ross and Marzek, Reproductive Husbandry, right? I know my green screen thing fucks with it a little bit.
No,
but yeah, like these two books here were probably my textbooks in high school for anything Python and Boa, anything Indo-Pacific for sure. If it was Indo-Pacific, it was these books were the only real accurate source of information. I think most of us agree whenever you find like any of you out there that are hunting that down, the reproductive husbandry of pythons and boas, if you find this book, buy it in whatever shape you find it in. Because it absolutely is hands down the way that we all learned. Like the way that if you appreciate someone on this podcast or that isn't on this podcast, that's our age, we learned from this book.
We did learn from that book, and not to say that we didn't change stuff and
sure.
do things, that tweak it the way that worked for us in our environment, but the base,
because it wasn't very insightful for a lot of breeding. It was insightful for when you should be thinking about breeding.
Exactly. So, but we all used it. That's where our knowledge base started.
Right. Because we didn't have this, right? Like had we had this, how different would the world have been? Had we had this level of it would have been this fast, right? It would have moved at this pace. So where do you see Morelia headed from here on? Like, where do you see them trajectory wise right now? I mean, obviously Bull and I are going to be around for dollar figures for a minute. So will things like Carinata and other rarer things. But what about the mainstream of Morelia?
I think it's headed in a good direction right now. We haven't been able to crack some of the codes that the ball python guys and the retic guys have been able to crack to get some of these crazy morphs, but it's heading in the right direction. We're a niche in the hobby. So, and all of us who concentrate on it realize that, but most of us who concentrate realize
I'm not so sure. Like, I think some of you think it's the only fucking species to keep. Like, I think some of you are like, this genus is the only, like, wait. Like, you got to like straighten your collar. Like, you got to like, this species is the only species to keep.
I'm not going to name names.
No, you're not going to. I already did. I already fucking did. I already named names. I just didn't name his partner's name who wrote the book with him. But yeah, I already named names. It's all good. It's all good.
No, it's all good. No, but we are. But it is, earlier with the scientific work that's been done and the books that have come out and the multitude of breeders that have been, doing this for 20 some years. Mm-hmm. It's definitely what we've been able to come up with as few genes really as we have to work with at the moment has been pretty amazing. We don't have the triple hets. We don't have, without crossing some of the species together. So the fact that we are able to produce what we can produce is really enjoy, working with, it's heading in the right direction. Like I said, it's not on a, upward trajectory. These fly off the table. But that being said, I always get rid of what I produce in a year. So I couldn't be happier. So,
yeah, I'm sure not, right? Like when you're a sidelining reptile breeder and you're doing shit like that for for shits and grins, when you get rid of every baby every year, what's that what's wrong with that hobby? You know what I mean?
It,
You're not like a ball python guy. We're like, yeah, I found that most of my snakes sell in their second year being here, and you're like, are you fucking keeping a rat guy in business? Are you like your rat guy's kids must have great video games and toys and shit, right? Like you've been keeping this motherfucker heavy and fed because of you keeping babies around so long. And here you are amongst a few other people out there saying, we don't have a problem getting rid of every single baby every year.
I think most of us don't. I mean, I think the guys who are breeding them, for specific traits, specific locality, and we do have that in this niche of the hobby too. So when you're doing that and you're doing what you enjoy and producing quality animals and you're using for lack of a better term, you're using specific animals to bring out specific traits. You're successful, and then you go, and it's just it's just like anything else. It's just not as mainstream as say the balls are. And honestly, I'm fine with that. I enjoy.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
This
I mean, you like a little bit more difficulty in it. Absolutely, you'd like a little more difficulty in production too, because then you keep prices higher longer. You sell animals faster. Your name holds truer longer. You don't feel like you can just take a break for like me. Take a break for 4 years of ball pythons and become a ball python nobody that nobody knows or cares about. I mean, like you're literally in that cut, like you all are doing about that bit, So
I think so.
Yeah. So I Holdback Rack brought up what Morelia locality or subspecies need more attention to preserve it. Like it needs interest critically before it's lost. I don't know if there's anything quite like that.
I don't think we have anything that's going to be lost anytime soon. I think unfortunately, a lot of what is being bred is bred by what people want in the market. So things tend to ebb and flow as to what people work with based on money, just like any other hobby.
Right.
But all our species and subspecies are pretty well represented. The ones we can get over here. So and I think everyone's doing a great job.
What are we waiting on? Ompoli?
We are
Ompoli, which is it even?
I don't think it's over here yet.
Yeah, I don't think if it's over here, it's in super secret, smuggled collections that everyone would know was smuggled in. But I mean, like, how difficult is that species? I mean, coming from this was like preserved dead specimens in their book, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Like it was like when we started with this book, it was like dead ones. I don't think they had a live one in it.
Eric Burke went over there and saw them in person.
Okay. So here you go. Like Morelia House, Brandon Wheeler, thank you for your comment. Holdback Rack. If Nick Mutton, Eric Kohler, and Eric Burke lost their collections, I don't think a single locality would be able to survive. Yeah. I mean, you do have kind of like,
he's not wrong.
Yeah. He's probably not wrong. Yeah. I mean, you do have and I think it's also imperative that now these guys are testing regularly for things like Nido and other things that could come in and really decimate a collection that has so much value and irreplaceable
it is.
value.
I mean, Brandon brings up a good point. The locality stuff in Morelia is very hard to maintain because you've got so few animals and you've got the same animals producing year in, year out, and then you've got to use those babies to get maintained.
Like the way you think.
The gene pool gets a little, shallow when you're breeding locality animals that you can't bring in fresh stock for.
Right.
Eric Kohler does a fantastic job with breeding, very specific locality Australian pythons, and he's one of like Brandon, 2 or 3 people who does it. So in that aspect, the localities might be in some, if some of these guys got out of it, it'd be hard to find. But in general, the species themselves, I think we've got a pretty good stock in this country. I don't think they're going anywhere.
Yeah, I think Ompoli would have to be on my fucking list, bro.
Yeah, they're pretty wild.
That's like the Morelia fucking Antaresia hybrid. It's weird. Like it's got a weird snout, like that's a weird motherfucker. It's a weird ass snake. It is so unique. It's so strange. And oh, you know what I was thinking of? It was one that we have everywhere now. Well, I say everywhere. It's not everywhere, but it's not dead ones in the book that I was drooling over. Is Carinata. That was what it was, the dead ones.
Yeah.
Carinata. And Carinata have been here, thanks to Cameron from Bushmaster, a few other people that brought in Carinata and bred Carinata very heavily enough to establish them in collections, but not established enough even to be on the fucking MorphMarket Morelia page at all, like on carpet pythons. Like they're not even here. Are they in the python section? I don't even think they're in the python section.
I don't know. They might have their own.
I don't even know if they're on there. That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't
But
even know if
they are fantastic.
I never had one and I want one bad. Like, I want Carinata bad before I'm dead. That's a bucket list species for me, for sure. And Carinata is
going downstairs to make sure they're doing what they're supposed to be doing.
Yeah,
I've yet to catch them this year.
Oh yeah, well, you need to breed them because I don't think this is like they don't even have a category on MorphMarket for it. You know, and that's what I'm saying. Like the species like that are just not bred nearly enough, bro. Like they're just not. So here is our list of Morelia on the grandiose MorphMarket. And to be honest with you, I fucking hate how these lists work on MorphMarket sometimes, the way they kind of just throw everything together. Because like Stonewash is Brettles and Hypo is Brettles and Zebra is Jungle and you know, and so like you guys don't understand how few morphs there are here. And then when we do get to the morphs, how of the morphs have deadly supers like the codoms, right, Jason? Like let's talk about deadly supers in codoms. Jason Earl says
the most notable is the Jaguar. You breed Jaguar to Jaguar, you get a portion of the clutch will be leucistic. They're lethal. None of the leucistics survive on their own. Once they split the egg, even if they do split their egg, they seem to have some pulmonary issues where they can't process
oxygen,
the exchange of oxygen through the air. So
as soon as they take a breath, it's done.
So I think that's really the only lethal combination we have. What
zebra do?
The zebra, sometimes you breed zebras, you get the either like a pigtail or a curly Q-tail. Doesn't seem to hamper the animal at all.
And then zebras, super zebras are what? They're solid color, aren't they?
They're usually a solid,
solid yellow, and then they grow into a brown, right? Yeah, they grow.
And that's what you get by breeding zebra to zebra.
That's zebra to zebra. So here's super zebras. Not to pick on anybody, particularly as a breeder. If I pull up your animal, I mean no offense. We're not ragging on your shit. We're just trying to bring you some extra added attention. So we just use MorphMarket to discuss our MorphMarket. So no other better place to discuss it than MorphMarket. So zebra, I like. Zebra's cool. Zebra's neat looking. I liked it for a jungle morph. I mean, it is what it is. I worked with it a little bit. I still have it. That's the only real Morelia I still have is jungles and zebras. I don't really have anything else. I was trying to think if I really wanted to go back down this road or not with you guys, with your weird, you know, little group of things that don't seem to be morphing out enough.
We just
anything in
haven't popped up.
The genes just aren't able to do it. But it's Australia, so it's not like we've seen that many genes of a lot of stuff. I mean, we're just starting to see the Australians really branch out and look for weird things, right? Like, so do you follow Antaraceas and stuff like that?
Very loosely, but I've seen a lot of that they're coming out with, and it's pretty amazing.
Image isn't showing. Is this image showing this time? View this tab. Let's see. Is this showing?
I haven't seen anything come up. So.
You can't see this come up? What the hell is wrong with this feed?
It may just be me. I don't know.
That's weird. I don't know what the hell's going on with this feed. The weirdest thing. Stop the screen. Maybe I can reshare it. I'm sorry, guys. I mean, it's back. That work?
There you go.
That pop up? Yeah, there we go. There we go. All right. No image. No image. No image. There we go. Now we got it. All right. Now we got it. But yeah, anyway, so like the list is very lacking. The list needs more. Squeeze them out. The list needs more morphs. So, hey, guys, Australians, you guys in the chat, please, if you're from Australia, get your ass outside and start flipping some shit over, man. Start climbing some trees. Start doing some shit. Start discovering some new morphs because you know they're doing it, bro. Like I mess with Antaracea. I raise anthill, children's pythons, and spotteds. And I have to say that I love the whole genus. And I wish that we could get more of the morphs here into the States because they have so many of them now. They have T-positive albino stuff. They have all kinds of neat little Antaraceas. You know,
the the guys in Australia, even their wild type stuff is so different than what we have here. I would love to get some of the stuff that they can pluck right out and sent over here.
So I have been contacted by a couple of people that want to actually try to change the laws in Australia for exportation. I mean, dude, the country exports fish like fucking crazy. They export coral like crazy, freshwater fish, inland fish. You know, you got rainbow fish, right? I mean, most people that know aquarium tropical fish know rainbow fish. That's all Australian fish. They discover new ones all the time and they bring them right in. What in the flying fuck is wrong with this country when it comes to birds and reptiles? I have no idea. God, you'd cut your black market trade down so much.
You would, and plus
I got friends that fly over there twice a month to fly back with fucking birds and reptiles taped to themselves. They're smuggling shit in and out of the country constantly, and the country would just be able to tax it, like fucking tax it.
Yeah, I think they're missing out on a decent stream.
A great natural resource that could be so easily reproduced there too, right?
And control. They could control it too.
Yeah.
Why not let some of it go out of country so you don't have as much of it being bred in country?
Well, they already have all of their hobbyists participating in a permitted system to keep their own shit. Like, if you've already got people willing to do that to that level of legality, I just don't see the purpose in continuing to hinder a trade. You know, I just think it's sad.
Anything exiting the country from an environmental standpoint can't be bad. I mean, as long as it's being regulated through reproduction.
Right, because you have a continent that's mostly uninhabited by mileage to people. Like,
right.
I mean, it's a giant natural resource. It's probably one of the, you know, it's kind of like I keep saying about the sadness about Mexico. We got stupid politicians that want to build a fucking wall when we should be trying to incorporate another country that's connected to us and using it for its strengths. You know, I mean, it sucks that people don't want to work together for a greater, better good. And I got to be honest with you, you're one of those Morelia guys that's definitely open-minded. Like, Morelia guys like put you in a box and you guys have a very closed mind of like, let's bring in the outside help, you know?
All my friends would say I'm completely open-minded.
Right. Yeah, they'll all be like, oh yeah, I'm surprised he's not all in the ball pythons like them other guys are, like Casey Lazick did. You know, Casey was big name in clowns. You're like, fuck you, dude. Casey's a no name in ball pythons, bro. Like, even though that's his name now, people know his name from that. People know his name from that. He bought clowns when everybody else wanted to buy them because he could just get them. He could just like, hey. So how did you deal with him much in the earlier days of your Morelia hood?
In the earlier days, no. And, you know, ironically, I've dealt with him more now on stuff other than Morelia. I bought a Western green rat from him not that long ago. Yeah. And and he didn't have a female at the time, so he helped me find one. Mm-hmm. So I'm growing up a pair of those, you know, as my new little periphery project.
Good. Maybe you could message him and say, I was on Sean's show and we definitely want you to do it. You know, because I mean, he would be another bucket list guest for me for sure. That would not be a risk of things. He's afraid to talk about the truth of Australian stuff because he doesn't want his kids to think he did things that are illegal. Like, you know, Casey, right? Like, that's so cute. That's such a precious little thing. I'm like, bro, like, they're grown. His children are grown. It's not like, dude, you're talking about your kids like they're 8 still. They're like 30. Fucking don't worry about it, man. Like, they've figured it out by now. They figured it out by now, right? Like, they figured it out. They watched Steve Irwin when they were growing up. They know you're not supposed to have that shit in your. They know blue tongue skinks are cool, but shinglebacks are really rare, dude. Like, they know this. But I think he would be an incredible guest and someone I've been trying to get on here for the better part of the decade.
I don't know that I have any pull to help you with that.
Yeah, you do. You just, I'll just be like, hey, yet another person you know was on the show. Are you feeling it yet? Right? Are you feeling it yet? The pressure of yet another person you know was on the show. So they have infamy on YouTube. If someone goes to search, if they ever apply for a job and someone goes and does a background check on them, they will discover that they did this shitty podcast and then 200 people listened to it once.
Exactly.
You know? So yeah. So your point of view on Morelia is we just haven't had enough morphs, or
Dude,
I don't.
we don't have access to the genes, or they haven't surfaced yet, or however you want to look at it. We don't have
Yeah, it just
the
hasn't
influx
exploded.
of fresh genetics to be able
Like
to.
I'm gonna put Homeboy on the stage real quick, and someone else too, because he's not the only one with them. But
Okay.
like the hypo stonewash Brettles, did this show up, guys? Like, did this show up for you? Okay, like this is pretty fucking spectacular to me. This stuff is pretty spectacular to me. So I would like I had a deal worked out with him for a trade for these, but he never contacted me back, so I'm not surprised. But whatever, I might have to reach out to him and see if he wants to do it. No. I don't think it's that big of a deal because I never got back with him, and we're very busy people. But I know you're just fucking around. But no, I mean, like to do the deal we were going to do it was to trade him for the other bloodline of Antaresia perthensis that he does not have. So, I mean, he has the Patterson line of anthill python, and I have the Lazic Price. I don't know. Whoever you want to call.
They are,
like Doug Price, funny. Casey Lazic when they were friendly, but whatever. But yeah, there are other people on here with stonewashed as well, but these are really incredible animals. Like these really are absolutely stunning animals. That, to be a combination of a couple of genes. Right. Yep. So
that just hasn't popped up that much for us. I mean, no. That's one of the more recent ones, and
this is definitely the most recent. That's probably the most recent double combo, like designer combo, and those aren't even stonewashed by themselves. Those are stonewashed and hypo, right? Or is it the same gene related? Does hypo make stonewashed if you breed them together?
You were talking to a non-bredli guy. So,
you're not bredli at all. Okay. All right.
If Brandon's still listening, he can chime in more.
That's all. We don't have to discuss it. It's not Jason Baylin territory. We don't have to discuss it. I just didn't know if you knew more about the Brettles and how they were, look at that. A hypo tiger. Look at that.
Yep.
Where's tiger these days in the gene thing? 24 tigers. Yeah. So
the hypo tiger, that is probably the newest morph. The hypo.
Oh, so that would be the newest combo gene. You think
it's not the tiger is what it is, and then you put the hypo into it. Obviously, you get something that appears like that. But the hypo gene itself is newer to the hobby than the tiger gene, obviously. But the combo of the two is pretty amazing.
Yeah,
I've got a few downstairs, so hopefully there'll be more of those there, in the next year to 2 years. So.
Mm-hmm.
And we are working with some more cutting edge stuff, and Nick works with it too. But there's also by the axanthic. So
I saw the axanthic
get
stuff.
Some ghost stuff coming out in the next few years. It's going to be pretty wild.
Right. Yeah. So the ghost, the hypo axanthic stuff, I think is going to really shine. For sure in the McDowell group. No doubt.
Absolutely.
No doubt at all. So the tiger was a pure McDowell. And
as far as you know,
and the jaguar was also
it was, and the hypo is as well. There is an albino McDowell over in Australia if it's still around.
I knew there was both a Darwin and a Variegata and McDowell, but I was unsure if the McDowell had gone anywhere.
I haven't heard anything of it in a while, but I remember seeing the pictures from it.
Mm-hmm. Right. So coastals in general is kind of like where you jammed most of your stuff. Is that where you pretty much are now still as McDowell?
I have a lot of McDowell. But I also have the jungles.
Right. And your jungles are heritage. What's the heritage of your jungle stock?
My original zebra came from Paul Harris over in Europe. That's what I started most of my jungle stuff was with the zebras. Plugging in some Will Leary animals into that zebra and a few other.
Whatever happened to Will and Mary?
Will and Mary are doing well. I chatted with Will not that long ago briefly. I had a question for him, but they are living their best life out in the western portion of North Carolina in the mountains. with their, I think, 4 kids now.
Oh wow, yeah, I know they are pretty religious or mostly connected
He's
to
very
that.
into his church.
Yeah, he's
And I
definitely
think
into
that took
that.
over. Interest
That
took
took over
what he
the
had in the
reptile
pipelines.
obsession
Yep.
thing back
Mhm.
then. Yeah, because I mean, still, this was the cover of Reptiles magazine with a jungle carpet python. I mean, they had a
Sure.
career. They had an outstanding career. When you guys did the Tiger Jag stuff was probably at the height
Yep.
of his career.
It was.
And great people to work with. Outstanding
They're fantastic
showers.
people, both of them.
If you really want to know how to show Morelia, that was the way to bring your adult with you and
Yep.
show it. If you want to sell it, like that motherfucker could not keep jungle carpet pythons when that cover girl animal was with him at the show. I mean, it shit flew off the table when they did Daytona and stuff back
He
then.
was one of the original contributors, to what we consider a modern day jungle.
Mm-hmm.
So,
right, yeah, a modern day jungle that probably looks nothing like the jungles of the jungle.
that is correct.
I don't know. I mean, yeah, they're pretty high yellow, incredibly crisp patterns. Jump
Selective
out like
breeding at its finest.
selective breeding at its finest. It would be like an absolute target in the eyes of a predator anywhere
That's right.
in the wild. How's the jungle market these days? I haven't checked in on it in a while. It seems pretty strong.
It's pretty robust.
Yeah, a lot of zebra
It's
stuff in there.
affordable. You can get good animals.
Yeah,
for a reasonable price these days, and like I said, people really enjoy them. You bring your adults to shows and you show them what the babies are going to look like, and
that's it.
that's
Because
how you
baby
sell
carpet
them.
pythons, guys, for all you ball python guys out there, when you buy those baby carpet pythons, they look like shit. They look like shit compared to what they look like when they get bigger. The Wow line, that's an interesting new thing. But definitely more colorful than the others for sure. Oh man, you see a lot of mutt jungle stuff diamond stuff in there still though. You see it. You go
People
to shows and you're like, that's
doing
not right.
diamond jungle crosses. I mean, and it's
yeah, and some of them are
it's its own little
spectacular.
niche.
Are they naturally? They naturally occur, right?
I think there's an intergrade zone.
Yeah, there has to be.
But the ones that we produce over here,
or
people
pure.
they still have a following. Let's just put it that way.
Right. Yeah, because I wouldn't even know where to start if I was trying to find. Here's the Julatins that they were that I'm assuming
that's closer to what you find when you pluck them out of the wild is the gelatin locality. They're a little less, bright.
Less bright. Is that zipper pattern typical of them? That tiger pattern down the dorsal, is that typical of the?
I think they're variable. I think
it's just
carpet's just about anything can produce a stripe. So
what is that?
That has to do with.
Does that have to do with Justin? That locality? Is that Justin's name on that locality? Is that what that is? No, it says it's a Swedish line. Is that it?
It's not Justin.
No, it's not Julander because he's not Swedish. Is it Swedish line? That not having to do with him, but interesting how
It's
Swedish
the
line. They have their own line of carpet python and their own line of black-headed python. Yeah. Interesting. Those fucking Swedes got to be special if you live in Sweden.
They do.
Yeah, got to be special. All right. So, well, you better get some listings up. You breed more snakes, bro.
Well, that's what we're doing now. I mean, like I said, I'm pretty much out. I'm going to be showing up at the next few shows with just like my hands in my pockets, basically, because I've got
that's always fun. That's always fun.
But I'm going anyway.
You're going anyway. Going to be in Tinley in a couple weeks then?
I will be in Tinley in a couple weeks.
Good deal. Good deal. I don't know if I'll be there or not. I don't think I will. I'm down in a remodel in my house right now, and I'm like not wanting to sacrifice any time or money on anything unless I'm making money. Unless I make money. Like that's it. Like I couldn't get my head around going to Arlington and not making money if I couldn't get a table. Like it's really hard for me to go to a show and not get a table. And not have to at least have a money making excuse while I'm there.
Plan for October then.
Yeah, I should do that now. And yeah, even though I found great flights for March, it's like I got to find somebody to go with me. That way we can rent a car and make it worthwhile if I'm not staying at the hotel. Because if I'm staying at the hotel, it's not a big deal. But like fucking having to get around there, that's just shitty.
Yeah,
That's just
stay
really
at the
shitty.
hotels become it's really first come first serve. They don't last long. If you don't book it with within a month of the show
Oh
that
yeah,
you're
no,
at,
you got to do it. Yeah, you
can't
got to
get
do
one.
it the day of the show
Yeah.
or whatever. Like if you don't do it the day of the show. What is this caramel carpet python? What is that? Is that another one?
That's another one. That one's been around for a while.
Caramel.
It,
Okay.
it's in
Well,
my
because I know
opinion,
Mike Pennell and I go back a good bit too.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
in my opinion, it's a form. I'll probably get lit up, but it's another form
of hypo.
But
Yeah.
it just lightens the overall appearance.
Right.
Gives
I was just looking
that
at it because it
caramel
popped up as a different
color.
name. Yeah, it popped up with a different name, and it popped up with Mike's name on it. And Mike's usually not a bad guy to go to. I like him a lot.
It pulls out that dark pigment. It gives it an overall goldish tone.
Right. Yeah, I see that. It's
And
just
and
not
they
as
have
red
a
of a
super form.
hypo. They do. Okay.
Yeah, it's basically a lighter version of that.
Okay. Interesting. Very interesting. Well, I hope they morph more, bro. I really do.
Dude,
hope
so
you
do
guys
I.
get in there and stir the pot. I really
I'm
do.
working on it.
Yeah. And I think really, I mean, get your asses out there, Australians. I know you watch this fucking show. Quite a few of you. Get your asses out there and start collecting stuff. Because if you won't export it and smuggle it in, somebody will. One of your friends will do it for money. One of your friends won't care. And that's it, really.
There might be a gene or two in the works that may pop up here.
Yeah.
In a year or 2 years. We'll see. I'll let you know.
Yeah, well, that sounds good. I mean, Jason Earl has an opinion that the caramel and hypo are a different morph.
They are different. I'm not going to disagree with them. They are different, but I'm just saying
fundamentally
it's
origin-wise
of hypomelanism.
Oh, you're just saying it's generally a hypomelanistic representation. I see what you're saying. Yeah,
the two genes
it could
are
just
completely
be
different.
All right, and let me say that, like on the name caramel, it could denote like a reference to caramel albinism, a T positive albinism, or something like that. And that's not what it is. But it's safe to say that there are many processes that go through in an animal's body, chemical and biological processes that go through melanin and development of coloration and pigmentation in the skin, guys. And I want you to understand that even though Jason Baylin just said that it's not that thing, we don't really know that it's not that thing. Like it could be that thing, but we'd have to test it, right? You'd have to test it.
Yeah.
All of this T positive usage, tyrosinase, like in boa constrictors, I believe she never had them tested, if I'm not mistaken. Tracy never tested it to actually call it tyrosinase positive. Like she never, but I believe the caramel albino ball python was tested to be tyrosinase positive, right? And so since then, caramel and caramel albino have been sloppily used to denote many dark.
The nomenclature can be so misleading, and we slap something on an animal that looks a certain way, and it sticks, and we'll go with but
I want to say Dave Barker explained it to me that way. I think David Barker explained it to me that way of how many processes the body goes through to synthesize melanin and bring it to the skin. You don't know what part of that process was fucked up, and very many part of that processes could get fucked up. Like and in a way of tyrosine positive albinos, they're saying that the body still produces part of what it takes to make melanin, but not the whole shebang, right? Like that's basically what they're saying.
Tricky.
So
it's very tricky.
Hypo's funny
in
itself.
Is tricky.
Right. Hypo's very tricky. Hypo's more or less a description of expression, not even remotely a quantifiable
correct. And you've got and it presents in different ways. So to go back to the Arizona Mountain King hypomelanism is where the black has a reduction in intensity. So where it was normally, it's now this lavender color.
Right.
So the area of coverage is still the same. It's just you've diluted the actual color. In a
sense, that could be a tyrosinase positive albino in itself. I mean, because the
know.
eyes are a little funny, right? On
they
the
are
hypo,
they are a little ruby colored. It's never.
They're a little weird on the hypo pyro. I mean, I know they're weird on the hypo Pueblan. Like the hypo Pueblan milk snake, I would not necessarily call a hypo at all, even though I guess that's the closest thing you could really call it, whatever. Anyway, all right, we're about to wrap this up. Jason Earl says Nick Mutton has bred them both. He's the one that told me that caramel and hypo are not the same and are not compatible.
No,
with
he is
each
correct. The
Yeah.
caramel,
Yeah.
again, you're dealing with nomenclature here.
Right.
You got the caramel, which is its own, which is a gene, and then you've got the hypo, which is another gene.
Yeah, you're just talking about the effect of it.
I'm just saying the caramel could be considered a form of hypogonadism because of the reduction in black.
Right.
But it does have its own name because it is its own gene. The newer hypo gene is something that is complete.
Yeah, and that's and you can tell by the redness in that newer hypo stuff. It's just incredibly red. Now the hypomelanism in there, how related is it in the hypomelanism of centralians? I don't know. That scares me. That kind of stuff scares me. Like that kind of stuff makes me worry that maybe somebody's mixing stuff up. Thoughts?
But it's great that is the newer gene that we have out there, and I think you said with trying to get some more carpet morphs out there, I think that's one of the keys that we're going to be able to use to get a few more things out onto the tables, because we'll be able to mix it with some other genes, because it's a coastal variety, so we can put some more stuff into it. Get ghosts, get some super forms if they.
Yeah, because dude, if you get an albino McDowell out here, that means you can have snows and sun glows too. Because then if you get snows and sun glows, then we're definitely on our way to
talk to your people,
doing something. Yeah, like you guys need to get your fucking shit together. Get your shit together. Tell me if this tab comes up. Does this tab come up? Did this come up? No? Yes, no? Okay, good. East Coast Serpents on Facebook. Jason Baylin, go check him out. East Coast Serpents, at East Coast Serpents on Facebook. There are quite a bit of photos on here. We didn't even go over this at all, but I definitely just clicked over here because I wanted to have it on the list, to have it on the screen before it's all said and done. You don't post very much, that's for sure. But when you do post, you post some pretty cool stuff. It's been a while since you posted on that page for sure. But yeah, so go check out some of the stuff he did, and you can definitely get in touch with him. But then, like he says, I mean, look, he even has a .net. It doesn't work. Look at that. Your .net is no longer in business. I mean, so many people's aren't. It's not that big of a deal. So many people's aren't, absolutely.
I'm a social media manager.
Yeah, right. Like I need a producer and I need a social media manager. I need a goddamn t-shirt shipper and a sign shipper and all that other shit too. But I just hired the kid across the street this week. So hopefully I can get further with at least some help around here.
An excrement engineer as well.
Oh, yeah, you should probably look into that, because that can also make the hobby easier and more fun at certain times. But it takes your eyes off the snakes, and that's something that I can honestly say will hurt you in the long run if you just take your eyes off the snakes. It definitely will. You won't be breeding any accidental species like Bolini again if you just let somebody take care of them. That's for sure. Won't be any of those mishaps happening. So. Well, all right. If anybody's got a Mangshan Viper that they want to sell off at a reasonable price, you know who to contact. I gave you a client today. Otherwise, is there anything else you wanted to share or talk about here?
No, this has been great. Thank you for having me.
This is fun. Hang tight for me just a minute, though. Don't leave me just yet. Okay. I'm going to take you off the screen for a minute and just finish up with these folks. And I thank you very much for coming on the podcast tonight. You certainly are a name in the business that we've all heard, and very few of us connected with a face until I was like, who's that quiet guy over there by the podium, by the U.S. ARC auction podium? And they're like, that's Jason Baylin. And I'm like, Jason Baylin, like Tiger Carpet Python Jason Baylin? And they're like, exactly. That's exactly who it is. And I went right over to you and I was like, hey, it's nice to meet you. I spent a lot of money with you and Will Leary. Yeah, I just wheeled my ass right over to you and was like, hey, what's up, dude? Yeah, he's a great guy. Like everybody told me you were great, and you were all great. You're a wonderful dude. So thank you very much for doing it. I think the few people that were here for the live tonight really appreciate it. And the very many people that will hear this on the rerun will also appreciate being able to get inside the mind of somebody who's been in the game for this long with Morelia, who probably don't subscribe to the same mentality that a lot of Morelia guys do. And so by that, that's a pretty good you. I like you. You're a good guy. So I hope
Yes,
you stick
as
around
are
for a
you.
while and you keep going with it. Jonathan
That
Sell,
is the
thanks for
plan.
coming. Wouldn't be a show without you guys in the chat bringing in your thoughts and your curiosity. So thank you for coming. Anybody that caught this after the fact, please hit the like and subscribe button and come back for another episode of the Ballsh podcast whenever we come back again. I was going to come back Friday with somebody, but I don't have anyone on the schedule yet. So that's a ball python show. So you guys let me know if we can cover any ground for ball pythons this week. I just don't know. So otherwise, Jason, thank you so much again. And hang tight for me just a minute. All right. All right, brother. All right, everybody. So that was that. Thank you, Jarrett, for being such a great Patreon member and for helping us out during the show. Remember, all of our opinions and everything shared here had nothing to do with the sponsors, had nothing to do with anything that they believe in or anything that they pay for every week for me to say their name. I'll go ahead and thank them once again for being so amazing. You guys, my sponsors, I wouldn't be able to do this without you. And my guests, those that have agreed to do this show thus far, I can't thank you enough. You make this for everyone's week. I hope that we uncovered some new ground tonight, something that hasn't been covered very heavily. Or for those of you that don't listen to Morelia Pythons Radio, an experience with this guy that you wouldn't normally get. So thanks a lot, guys. You have a good night. And I will see you when I see you. Hopefully Friday. Thank you, Marshall, for saying another great show. It's very, very nice. Everybody hit the like button on your way out. I totally agree. Close the chat, hit the like, and I will see you when I see you.